Hey guys, Tarek, Merryface here, and welcome to Merryface Aviation. Today's video is a little different. I'd like to talk to you about licenses. I'm in London right now visiting my sister. It's her birthday, but I'm just taking a couple hours quickly just to talk about this because it was a big issue for me, and there are some pitfalls you can get yourself caught in, and I did, and I'd like to help you avoid those pitfalls for when you finish your training. So back in August of 2015, I was about to take the FCL 055 and about to do my Class 1 medical. I wasn't sure what I needed in order to do a flight training and skill test in Sweden, so I contacted the flight school in Sweden, Diamond Flight Academy, and I spoke directly to the owner. I asked him what I needed to do in terms of licensing, and he said he didn't think much. They never had an issue in terms of licensing in the past. So I didn't do anything. I did my Class 1 in France, I did my FCL 055 for this English proficiency in France, and I went to the school where we had an introduction lecture. During that lecture, we were looking through the different regulations in terms of licensing and stuff, and that's where we found out that in fact, for a French license holder to be tested by a foreign examiner, certain hoops had to be jumped through. The examiner had to be on the foreign examiner list in the French CAA system, which is a difficult process. He has to apply, pay a lot of money, and then he has to wait up to 3 months. And once he's on that system, he has to give the French CAA 2 weeks notice prior to the skill test. On top of that, I have to pay an extra fee for doing my exam outside of France. So of course, this wasn't an option, so we decided that I should do my skill tests in Sweden with the Swedish system for a Swedish CPL. So with that decision being made, I finished my training, did my skill test with a Swedish examiner in a Swedish airplane in Sweden, with the Swedish paperwork being sent off to the Swedish CAA Transport Sweden. This of course resulted in this happy video. I am now a instrument-rated commercial pilot. Now of course, during my training I had already commenced the process of converting my Class 1 medical. I had filled out the paperwork and had sent it to Transport Sweden, asking them to convert my Class 1 from France to Sweden. The Swedish said they would then send me an invoice by post to my home address, and it would take about 2 days to get there. I waited 1 week, 2 weeks, still nothing. During that time, I was sending them emails asking about the whereabouts of this invoice. Eventually, I sent them a long email saying that I was looking for jobs and that I really needed this to be done as soon as possible. And I said that if they sent me the invoice by email, I would pay within the hour. Thankfully, they obliged, and of course, I paid within the hour. So now the Swedish promised that it would take about 2 weeks for the conversion process to be completed. So I waited 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, still nothing. So I contacted them and asked them what was going on. They said they had made several attempts to contact the French, but they hadn't been answering. I asked them to send me the email addresses they'd been trying to contact, and then I personally went on the French CAA's website, the DGAC. Turns out they weren't contacting the wrong email addresses, and since I speak French, I decided to take things into my own hands since it would hopefully accelerate the process. I contacted the French, and it turns out I need to fill out the paperwork. So I filled out the paperwork and sent it back to them, and then the DGAC, the medical department of the DGAC, sent the paperwork to the hospital where I took my Class 1 medical. It sat there for 2 weeks while the doctor who signed off my Class 1 medical found it in some pile, signed it off, gave it back to the department in the hospital that takes care of all the administration, who then sent it back to the DGAC, which then forwarded my medical records to Transport Sweden. This process took about 2 months, and about a week later, I finally got my Class 1 medical issued in Sweden. Now, of course, the second step was to convert my PPL. Now, the Swedish had already made a request from the French to convert my PPL. The French received that request about 2 months later, but as it turns out, I have to do all this stuff. The French were really helpful about it. They sent me an email with all the steps that I need to do in order to make the official transfer request from France to another country. So it's basically going online, paying a fee, and sending off the receipts of the fee, of payment of fee, and the paperwork to the French, who then forward all the details of my PPL to the Swedish. That process was actually quite painless. It took about a week to get done. However, when I contacted the Swedish to find out how my CPL transfer was going, they couldn't find me on record, which was a bit troubling. So I sent them back all the paperwork for my skill test, and I sent them back all this other stuff, and eventually they found everything, and they asked me for my criminal record. The very next day, however, Transport Sweden contacted me to tell them that they had been mistaken. They don't need my criminal record. What they need is my actual PPL license. So I wrapped up my PPL license in a nice little envelope and sent it as priority post to Swedish Transport. And now I'm awaiting for them to receive that, so that once they get it, they confirm my PPL is in their hands, they can then send me my CPL to my home address in France, where at this point I will finally be able to fly again as a commercial pilot. Okay guys, I'm not making this video to whine. I'm doing it because I want to share with you guys my experience so that you can avoid the pitfalls. Do your research. I didn't do my research. I delegated it to the owner of the flight school. It wasn't his responsibility to look this up. It was mine. I shouldn't have asked him. I should have called the French CAA or the Swedish CAA, and I should have looked it up in EASA FCL. And I didn't. I delegated the job, and that resulted in this situation. So this whole thing would not have happened if I had done my research properly. So once you've done your research and you know what to do, go ahead and do that well before the professional training. Convert your PPL to the correct country, and of course, convert your Class 1 medical or take your Class 1 medical in the appropriate country. This will save you a whole lot of time once you finish your skill tests. Remember guys, I've lost 3 months because of this story. The fuel prices are low and airlines are hiring like crazy now, and I might have missed a golden opportunity because the hiring boom has definitely started to go down again. Guys, if I could have done this again, if I had done my research properly, back in August of 2015, I would not have done the FCL for English proficiency in France. I would not have done my Class 1 medical in France. What I would have done is converted my PPL to a UK private license, done the radio telephony test in the UK, and done my Class 1 medical in the UK. The UK are a lot less strict in terms of foreign examiners testing their license holders, and in fact I have plenty of friends who did their tests in Sweden who now have their licenses, and they did it in half the time with half the effort. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy it, please press the like button, share, subscribe, keep watching videos on YouTube, especially mine. It really, really helps me. I made this video as a genuine warning. I want you guys to avoid the same pitfalls I fell in. It can happen to you. Don't think it can't, because it can. So look it up, do your research, and do what you have to do in order to facilitate the process of you getting your CPL. Well, that's it for now. I'm Merryface. I'll see you guys next time, and happy flying.